Creating Titanic, the Ship of Dreams by Kevin Blake. Launched. On May 31st, 1911, thousands of excited people crammed into a shipyard in Belfast, Ireland. They were there to watch the empty hull of RMS Titanic enter the water for the very first time. Brass bands played while dazzling lead rockets exploded in the sky. Proud workers hugged their children as they pointed at the massive ship they had helped build. The Titanic was 882.5 feet, 269 meters long, almost as long as 3 football fields, and would be taller than a 10-story building. The ship weighed 46,328 tons, 42,028 metric tons, or more than 8,000 elephants. Workers had covered the Titanic with 22 tons, 20 metric tons of soap, grease, and oil to help it slide out of its berth and into a sea inlet. In just 62 seconds, the giant ocean liner was floating for the very first time. It was the largest moving object the world had ever seen. The Titanic slides into the water on launch day. It would be another 10 months of work before the Titanic was completely finished and ready to set sail on her first trip. The official name of the ship was the RMS Titanic. RMS stands for Royal Mail Steamer. The Titanic received the name because it could carry mail and cargo from Great Britain around the world. An invitation to the launch of the Titanic. Thomas Andrews and his team soon went to work drawing up plans for the Titanic. However, there was a major problem. Where do you build such an enormous ship? The Titanic would be so big that it could not be constructed in a typical shipyard or with regular equipment. Andrews needed to think creatively to solve this problem. First, he ordered workers to demolish 3 sliplays, or dry docks, at the Harland and Wolff shipyards. Then, the slipways were combined to make a large enough area to house the new ship. Andrews had a 220-foot, 67-meter crane especially made so that workers would be able to reach the top of the vessel. Finally, he ordered a second crane from Germany that could lift 200 tons, 181 metric tons. By March of 1909, it was time to start building the mighty Titanic. Harland and Wolff would build 2 other gigantic ocean liners for the Wright Star Line at the same time as the Titanic. These were the Olympic and the Britannic. The Titanic, the largest of the 3, was named after the Titans, who were the ancient Greek gods. During the first stage of construction, the workers built the ship's huge skeleton, or framework. The very first step was to lay down the ship's bottom, or keel. The keel worked like a giant backbone to hold the rest of the ship in place. Then they constructed a powerful steel frame, or hull, that stretched out from the backbone like ribs. The next task was to fasten 2,000 overlapping steel plates onto the skeleton that would serve as the ship's skin. Each plate was 6 feet, 1.8 meter wide, and 20 feet, 6 meters long, and weighed around 3 tons, 2.7 metric tons. It took many hours of work and more than 3 million rivets, or small metal pins, to connect the skin to the ship's skeleton. Each team of riveters had 5 members. 2 people heated the rivet until it was red hot. Another person put it in the correct spot. Finally, 2 more men, called bashers, hammered the rivet into place. A tremendous amount of force would be needed to power a ship as big as the Titanic. The ship's planners decided to use 3 steam-powered engines, each as tall as a 6-story building. To create enough steam, 29 boilers would be used to superheat nearly 400,000 gallons of water. The steam would power the engines, allowing the Titanic to travel up to 26 miles per hour. To keep the boilers hot enough to make steam, the Titanic carried a small amount of coal, almost 8,000 tons worth. Stopping a 53,000-ton ship traveling at full speed would take a lot of strength. The Titanic had 5 different anchors, including a center anchor that was the largest ever made. At nearly 16 tons, it took around 20 Clydesdale horses to move it. The Titanic would offer more than just a fast way to cross the ocean. For first-class passengers, it was like traveling in a palace. The ship had a swimming pool, a gym, libraries, and fancy restaurants. Its grand staircase was lit by a curved glass skylight. The Titanic even had a spa for its wealthiest guests. There were 350 rooms and 4 ultra-luxurious parlor suites for first-class passengers. Each parlor suite had up to 5 separate rooms and was decorated with fine art and furniture. However, life on the Titanic was very different for those passengers in third class, where 4 people shared a single room. In addition, there were only 2 bathtubs for all 710 steerage passengers. Still, the accommodations even for the poorest guests on the Titanic were considered very comfortable. At the time, the most expensive ticket on the Titanic cost $4,350. That's about $70,000 in today's money. The Titanic was the most luxurious steamship of its time, and perhaps of any time. What amenities did first-class passengers enjoy? The wealthiest passengers could eat in a private restaurant. Tables were set with porcelain plates and cups. The menu included duck, salmon, and beef. A first-class lounge was decorated to look like a palace. It had elegant furniture and a marble fireplace. Beautiful objects, such as this gold-covered lead grill, decorated the areas used by first-class passengers. Wealthy passengers could take a dip in a heated swimming pool and then relax in a Turkish-style spa. The luxury dining hall could seat hundreds of passengers. Musicians entertained the guests with classical music.